Right. Well, the Beatles were writing, I believe, their own version of Johnny Be Good. Because what else can you write about? Falling in love, falling out of love. A car, a sunny day, a rainy day. You know what I mean? You run out of topics. So you tend to want to write about the day in the life of someone. So Chuck Berry writing that great Johnny Be Good song, and then all his other songs. He was the greatest poet in rock and roll. I mean, pre-Dylan, Chuck Berry was it. The stories were amazing, and he made up his own words to rhyme, like motivating. As I was motivating over the hill, I saw Maybelline at Coupe de Ville, you know what I mean? Instead of saying as I was driving my car, motivating, he made up these words. And so the Beatles trying to copy him, doing the day in the life of a guy who wrote, you know, little trashy novels, paperback writer. So that was kind of my template. So we had gone to New York in that summer of '65, and we went there subsequently to record at Scepter Records with Stanley Greenberg and Florence Greenberg, who owned the label. She managed the Shirelles. She wrote Soldier Boy for the Shirelles. Bacharach and David would come in pitching songs. Ashford and Simpson would come in pitching songs. They were high school kids. They would skip school in the afternoon and come and play us songs. So we recorded on the next Guess Who album that was done at Scepter, an Ashford and Simpson song, you know, things like that. So we were in this whole, and that's where we got in really good with Phil Ramone, because he was producing, Dionne Warwick, our engineering with Burt Bacharach at the time. Florence Greenberg's son was the engineer, Stanley Greenberg. He was blind. Every day he'd come to work, he'd wear a white collar. So we figured, how do you know what you're wearing? You're Stanley, you're blind for Pete's sake. And he'd come with a white cane, come to work. White collar, a tie, a tweed jacket with the patches on it.
Right.
Stanley, why do you dress like this? Because we're all there in schleppy clothes and it's t-shirts. You're in the studio, nobody's singing you. I want to be like George Martin. And every day, he'd have to, and engineer, as a band, you're getting rolling in the studio at 4 or 5 in the afternoon. You have a little break for dinner, and about 8 or 9 o'clock, that's your time you usually go on stage. Your body's in rhythm, and you start to record. He'd have to leave every night about 10 after 10 to get the 11 o'clock train wherever he went. And I couldn't believe this guy with a white cane who was blind walked down the street, went to Grand Central Station, sometimes in a taxi, but he would usually walk, because he counted the steps and the blocks. He knew where he was. And I said, so when you come back in the morning, how do you do it? He said, I just reverse it. I take the 8:15 back into the city. So I'm trying to write a song, and I'm trying to do a day in the life of a guy. So I have an idea to have a song called White Collar Worker, because everybody around me is wearing white collars, button-downs to look like George Martin. And Stanley Greenberg is specifically wearing a white collar. And so the next morning I get up and I go, and I actually meet the 8:15 that comes into the city, to Grand Central. And all these girls are getting off the train, and they're doing their makeup, and they're trying to look pretty, and then they're going to work. Then started at 9 in the morning, so they took the 8:15 to the city. Now that song's a little dated because everyone starts at 10. I should have redo it as 9:15 into the city.